Today we're going to learn the present progressive tense. So we're still talking in the present. We haven't really moved to the past tense yet, but this tense tells what we are doing at this exact moment. Like right now, I am speaking, I am teaching, I am thinking about food because y'all know I'm always hungry. So it's what's happening at this exact moment. So you are listening at home. So this brings into question some of the differences between the present tense and the present progressive. So whenever we have a normal present tense verb that we've used all of Spanish 1, where we take off the AR and add the ending that matches the subject, like hablo, okay, it means I talk or I do talk. So it has two different meanings there. But when we move to the present progressive, we have a new meaning. So estoy hablando. This means I am talking. I am talking at this exact moment. I can say I talk. I talk during class. That's a true statement. But right now, we're not in class. You're at your home, but it's still in the present tense. The present progressive says exactly what we're doing at this moment. So you cannot use the present progressive unless you are literally doing what you're saying at that exact moment. Okay, so just like in English, these are our ing verbs. So I am listening, I am jumping, I am reading, I am deciding on what to eat. Okay, so we have two verbs in English and we're going to have two verbs in Spanish as well. So our formula for making the present progressive is a conjugated form of estar. So estar and its conjugation. If you don't remember estar, I would write it out next to your sheet. So estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, están. Make sure you have all of those. So estar is always going to match the subject. Because it's our first verb, it's the one that gets conjugated. So this is the only one that gets conjugated. And then we're going to add our present participle. These are our ing verbs. So anytime we have an ing, we know we're going to use the present participle. And our to be verb is estar. We have to use estar because what we are currently doing right now, it's temporary. It's always going to change. And right here I have a little heart with estar and the present participle in there because they've fallen in love and they can't separate. So you can never separate these two. They're always together 100% of the time. Nothing is ever going to come in between them. So they always have to follow this pattern. Estar, present participle. So how do we form the present participles? Because we know how to do estar. So for AR verbs, we're going to take off the AR and we're going to add ando 100% of the time. So estar is in the front. It's always conjugated. And then our present participle is going to be ando for the AR verbs. So look right here. We have the verb hablar. So step 1 is to take off the AR. And then we're going to add ando. And this means talking. This does not have a subject. All of them get ando. That's where we get our subject from is estar. So hablando. Okay, the same thing goes for ER and IR verbs. Okay, they share the same present participle ending. So we're going to drop the ER or IR and we're going to add iendo. So let's look at the verb comer. We're going to take off the ER and we're going to add iendo. The same thing happens with vivir. We're going to take off the IR and we're going to put iendo. Comiendo means eating, and viviendo means living. Okay, no subjects are attached because this is only the ing form of the verb. Okay, so let's do some quick practice really fast just so you can see everything tied together. Okay, so I am listening. Notice we have two verbs here. So two verbs in English, we're going to have two verbs as well in Spanish. So we have to use the conjugated form of estar. So it's going to be yo estoy. So yo estoy, that's step 1. Now we have to do the present participle of the verb listening, or to listen. So we're going to put escuch. Okay, it's an AR verb. So we take off the AR and we add ando. So yo estoy escuchando means I am listening. So am being estoy, then escuchando being listening. Let's continue. Okay, we have you are drinking. Okay, so we have are drinking, 2 verbs in English, 2 verbs in Spanish as well. So the estar form of 2 is going to be estás. Okay, notice that estar always goes with the subject. Now let's do drinking. It comes from the verb beber. So the first thing we're going to do is take off the ER. Now we're going to add the ending that goes with ER verbs in the present participle. So it's going to be bebiendo. Bebiendo. So tú estás, so you are. Bebiendo means drinking. Okay, you can never say tú bebiendo. That makes no sense. You've got to include all the steps. And then we have he is learning, or he is leaving. It comes from the verb salir. So to say he is, it's going to be él está. And leaving, we're going to take off the ear part of salir, and then we're going to add yendo. So él está saliendo means he is leaving, currently at this exact moment. Now, it wouldn't be fun if we didn't have some irregulars to throw all those rules that we just learned out the window. So there's only 2 types of irregulars whenever we're dealing with the present participle, so the ing verbs. Okay, so the first one, when stems end with a vowel, you're going to change the yendo to a yendo. So we change this I to a Y. You're going to see this a lot in Spanish, where the I's start turning into the Y's whenever we have a stem that ends with a vowel. So just in case you don't know what that is, let's look at the verb leer. Okay, when we take off the ER, we're left with the stem of the verb. Okay, so notice how this stem ends with a vowel. It ends with an E. Okay, so we don't want an E-I-E together. The sounding is weird, and so that's why we have to change it to a Y to preserve the original sound that the stem has with the verb. So let's do some examples. So we have leer. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the ER, and notice that our stem is a vowel. So we're going to change the yendo to a yendo. So Y-E-N-D-O. The same thing happens with traer. When we take off the ending, we're left with a vowel in the stem, or at the end of the stem. So we're going to change it to trayendo. It's bringing. Caer is the same way. When we take off the ending ER, we're left with a vowel at the end of the stem. So it's going to change to cayendo. Okay, with creer, we're going to take off the ending, and we're left with an E at the end of the stem, so it's going to change to a Y, so creyendo. And then for ear, poor thing. So when we take off the IR, we're left with nothing, and so we just put yendo in the blank. So whenever your stem ends with a vowel, you're going to change the I in the ending to a Y. Okay, it means the exact same thing, we just have to change it because of spelling. Okay, and the second type of irregularity whenever we have the present participle are the stem changes. So unfortunately, there are stem changes whenever we're using the present participle with the present progressive. But one good thing, only the IR verbs stem change. Okay, so anytime you have an IR verb, you should have a list in your notebook of the common IR verbs we've had so far. Those are the ones that stem change whenever we use the present progressive. So AR verbs don't stem change, ER verbs don't stem change. It is only IR verbs. Okay? And instead of having 4 categories like we normally had, like O to U, E to I, E, O to U, and those, they only have 2 categories this time. So in this case, the O only goes to a U, and the E only goes to an I. So whenever we stem change, there's no UE anymore, there's no IE. O only goes to U, and the E only goes to an I. So let's look at some examples. Okay, we have the verb servir. It's one of our new verbs this time, and it means to serve. Okay, so step one, like always, is to take off the ending. So we take off the IR. We know its stem changes because it's an IR verb, so it ends with an IR. Okay, this I is going to replace the E when it's in the stem. So you see right here how the I has replaced the E. Now we go back and add our ER, IR present participle endings. So we have ser viendo. So ser viendo. It's stem changed right there because it's an IR verb. Okay, let's do a few more. So we have the verb pedir. We know its stem changes because it's an IR verb. Okay, and this E goes to an I. So we have pidiendo. Okay, pidiendo. Decir does the same thing. It ends with an IR, so it's an IR stem changing verb. So this E gets replaced with an I, so diciendo. Awesome. Moving on, venir. It's an IR stem changing verb, so the E gets replaced with an I in the present participle, so viniendo. Okay, let's look right here. This is where the big difference comes in. So preferir. It's an IR stem changing verb because it ends with IR. And normally it goes to an IE. So like in the present tense, it's yo prefiero because it gets an IE. Well, whenever we're doing the present participles, it only goes to an I. So we have prefiriendo. So it's only an I. Okay, same thing with dormir. We're used to having this change to a UE. But whenever it's in the present participle, it only goes to a U. So we have dormiendo. Okay, so E's only go to I, O's only go to U's whenever it's in the present participle.